Welcome back, everybody. Boyd here with you again, and we're working on the second half of our stun gun and Commlock model kit from MPC. We had a blast working on the little stun gun the other day, and that turned out really well. It's actually pretty simple to work on, like we showed you there. All we did was put in some basic wiring and LED lights and a switch, and we were good to go. For the Commlock here, it was a little bit more complicated because you can make it complicated by adding extra features. If you want to just put some basic sound and light into it, with a one button or something like that, it's not too bad. But I decided I wanted to have the keypads function on the front of this thing, and I wanted to have the little screen at the top light up. We've got the little Commlock logo on there, and so I wound up using one of these 5-button sound cards that you guys have seen me use before. This is from Big Dogs. I'm down to where I only have a couple of these left. They've been out of stock at their website for about a year now. I don't know if it's due to what's going on with the shipping and everything and the virus going around, but I suspect they may not be making them anymore. But I've been looking around for alternatives, so I can't really tell you guys to go out and get this particular board, but you can find something like it. The main thing that you want to make sure of is, if you're going to use one of these, is that look at the specifications of it and make sure it'll physically fit inside of this piece. If you decide you're going to do this, you can go really simple and just put one little button somewhere and make the top light up and not go beyond that. But I decided to go kind of crazy on this thing, so I got all the little keypads working. I've got 5 different sound effects from the TV show that we always heard on the Commlock, and I've got the little screen on the top, and I got a couple little flashing lights that work and stuff. So it turned out pretty cool. I'm going to explain to you guys what I had to do to modify this thing. First, let's take a look in here. You can see I got these. I just use these pieces of sprue and I reinforce them. I use 2 of them, and they are basically locked down over the top of these momentary switches that come with this sound card, the little square type with the little tiny red button in the middle that got the kind of little spring action. And I use the kit supplied keys here. So there's a little bit of modification you need to do these keys. When you see the model kit, when you open it up, you're going to see the keys are all molded on one piece of plastic. So an easy way to take care of that was I just turned it over, took a number 11 blade on my hobby knife, and just started scribing across in between the keys, staying in the middle of the webbing that's in between each one. And after I scribed a few times, I was able to just kind of break them right apart. Then I took some sandpaper and sanded the edges down so they were nice and smooth, and when they were laying in here, they wouldn't come close to touching each other anymore. They would all be free to move. Now, I used 5 of these. The other ones I just glued in place. So I kind of strategically placed where my finger felt the most comfortable when I was holding on to this thing, to make the buttons actually function. So the back side of the keys here are hollow. So I took some of my solar res and just pooled it in there until it was flush on the back side. And that way when they touch on the momentary switch, the momentary switch has a flat footprint to make contact with, and that's basically how it works. So I took these pieces of sprue. I started off with just one here, and I glued the momentary switches with some CA glue onto the top of the sprue, facing straight down, making sure they were nice and even. I made sure I had the measurements right where they were going to line up on each switch. And then I just basically dropped that piece of sprue in down there until it was touching on the back of these keys, and then glued it in place. And I came back with another piece over the top of that to reinforce it. When I first tried it, you could see it just bowing just a tiny little bit, and I was afraid that it might, over time get weaker. So I reinforced these, and these are plenty strong now. These are never going to go anywhere. I used some epoxy on the sides here, so these will never come apart. And that's basically it, you guys. So we have the little momentary switches facing straight down to the back side of these keys. The keys are just laying in the slots. Now you want to make sure what you do when you paint this thing is go back in here and scrape the inside edge of the housing here, so that the tolerances on this thing are super tight, you guys. Everywhere one of these little pieces goes in from the inside, you push it, it just fits like super tight. So I had to go back around this whole thing and scrape all the paint off the edges there, because if I didn't do that, the keys would sort of bind a little bit, when you were trying to push them, and they wouldn't want to come back. And that took care of that. So I wound up doing that on everywhere that we had a piece that had to go, glue from the inside out, because everything just fit like super, super tight on this thing. So we got the little keypad figured out. So then we had to figure out, okay, what we wanted to do up here. Now, for the lighting of the top screen here, I just took a piece of sheet styrene and I made a lens, which you can see right here, that basically goes across just underneath of the of this piece right here that goes straight down on it. And that's my diffuser. That's basically taking the LED. I've got three little, the three little bulb strip of LED tape in regular white just behind that. And that white styrene plastic diffuses that rather nicely and keeps it from being, little hot spots there. Well, then just as, far down as I could go without getting into these buttons or getting into anything else, I put another piece of sheet styrene and I glued my my LED strip on the top of that. Then I came back with the CA glue and I just glued all the way around that and painted it black along the edges so that we don't get light leaks coming down into here. We still get a tiny little bit up at the top, but that's going to get taken care of when I finally seal this thing all up. So that that took care of all that. Now I've got this little kind of blinking light that blinks in sync with the sound at the front here, this little red guy. So I just put him in there. I glued one SMD in there and I filled it up with the back side of it because it's hollow. I filled that up with my solar res again and just kind of set the SMD in there facing outward and then cured it while, kind of embedded the SMD into it. And then I painted it with some Tamiya red and diffused it real good, and so that's working really nice. The two wires that come off of that actually are the SMD, go right over and connect to the soundboard here, right to the speaker output, so that every time that this modulates, this little light flashes in sync with it. It's a pretty cool effect. I think they actually meant for some of the lights on this Commlock to do those sort of things, and instead you just saw just like fake little colors on there. They didn't actually do anything. I think if they would have had a bigger budget, they would have done, some stuff like that. So even if they didn't, I still think it looks really cool and it adds a little bit of, effects or animation to this thing and kind of brightens it up a little bit. But you'll see it working here in just a little bit. So everything on the inside besides that is pretty much, I didn't have to do anything. Down here is where our little 9-volt battery sits. And I got this little piece of square resin stock that I had laying around. And I put that in there just like that, because what that does is that keeps the battery from sliding around or banging into anything or rattling or anything. It fits nice and snug in there. I just kind of fiddled with that until I got it just right to where it fit just right. The battery fits in there all nice. You've got this little sliding battery cover here that goes just like that, snaps in place, kind of slides up like that. Then you've got the little cap that goes on here at the bottom, kind of a pressure fit. And I took my micro pin vise and I drilled all this out. Every single one of these. It's a 0.75 drill bit. I thought it might help get a little bit of sound coming out of it, and it did. It actually helps it, because the speaker being inside, you don't want it to be really muffled. Now, what I did also, you can see I mounted the speaker here on this back wall, and I drilled a couple little holes right here for the sound to come out. Now, that's going to be hidden because our belt clip goes over the top of that, okay? So that doesn't show up like real ugly. I decided to put a little on and off switch here on the back side. I was trying to come up with different ways, again, of trying to get one of these actual buttons to make the switch, and I just, there was some stuff out there I probably could have got, but I just decided to use what I had here, and I don't mind it at all. It's a good heavy-duty switch that I know is reliable and everything. I've been using them a long time. I get those from Tenant Controls, so it's really small and everything, so that's a simple way of taking care of that. So we got our 9-volt battery here. Now, these Big Dogs boards run on 5 volts, no more than that. If you run anything over 5 volts, these things will blow up. They may hold up for you for a little while, but you'll discover later on all of a sudden it's going to start acting funny and getting staticky, and then it'll eventually quit working altogether. They're very sensitive about that. So we got to drop our voltage down below 9 volts in order for this to work. Well, inside here, you guys have seen me use this before. This is an L7805 transistor, and it basically takes input up to like 35 volts DC and lowers it down to a steady 5 volts. So we're bringing in 9 volts, and we're breaking this down to where it puts out 5 volts. So now it can be hooked up directly. The power coming off of that can go directly to our board. We're not running the 9 right to the board, otherwise it would burn out. Okay, so that's basically how that's working. I'm just trying to think of any other things I can think of here. Everything else on this thing went really pretty much straightforward, just these little mods we did. When I glued the board on here, it took me 2 or 3 times of gluing it to where I got it adjusted just right, where it'll clear everything. The first time I had it down a little bit too far, then this little part wouldn't close. The second time I had it up a little too far and it wouldn't clear this little lip up here. So it just took a little bit of fiddling around. You know, they sort of designed this thing to be lit and have some fun with it, but you're kind of on your own as far as figuring it out. You know, I think there are a couple of people out there that are going to be coming out with some actual lighting kits for this. It would be nice if there was an all-in-one sort of little module that had the keypads and everything right on top of it that just, you know, you replace the kit keypads and it just lines up right with these openings and everything, and it just dropped right down in there. It had the battery and everything in it. Maybe somebody will come up with something like that, really cool. But you know, I don't mind doing this. I really have a lot of fun trying to figure everything out and engineer it all to get it to work. And so that was a really, you know, interesting part for me, and one of the main reasons I actually wanted to build this thing. So that's where we're at so far, you guys. If I miss anything, I'll try to think of it here at the end, because what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go back and I'm going to get this all glued together. This is going to get glued down. I'm actually going to putty around this seam. This is meant to be removable, but I've had this thing testing it for 4 or 5 days now, and I'm confident everything's going to remain stable and work and everything, so I'm going to go ahead and glue it, because I don't like this big seam that we have around here, and we wind up getting a couple little light leaks coming out of it. This one down here will remain detachable because we're going to get in there to change our battery out and everything. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and, off camera here, I'm going to go ahead and get everything put back together. I'll get this seam all cleaned up. I got a few little touch-ups to do on this thing around, and then we're going to show you this thing all finished up and working. And we're going to talk about some more future Space 1999 projects here on the channel, too. I'm really getting into Space 1999, and we got a little 2001 A Space Odyssey coming up, too. So I'll be right back with the finished Commlock, you guys. Okay, you guys, well, I'm back with you again, and I got the little Commlock all finished up here. You can see it turned out really good. Didn't have any problem at all. Round 2 did a great job engineering these kits. As I mentioned in the stun gun video, if you're a beginning modeler, you won't have any problem at all putting these kits together. They're engineered really well. The decals work excellent. So if you want to build these straight out of the box, you won't have any problem with these at all. I kind of created my own adventure here with adding the lights and the sound effects to the comm, and then adding lights to the stun gun. But I enjoy that part of the hobby, you know, trying to engineer stuff and figure stuff out from what I have here and everything. Now I wanted to keep this, you know, a fairly simple, understandable video so people out there could modify these kind of at an intermediate level. You know, the soundboard I showed you is really easy to work with. You can find those, and it's just a matter of getting it to fit in there. I talked about how you can modify these little keypad buttons here and get those to work. There are people out there on YouTube that are going crazy with these things, putting, you know, LCD screens in there, microprocessor control boards, all kinds of really cool stuff. But a lot of that stuff is over a lot of people's heads, and it also starts to get kind of expensive. So I just wanted to kind of keep this in the intermediate range. Now, I probably got $30 total besides the cost of the kit in all of my modifications here. The batteries, the soundboard was like $8, a couple switches, a couple LEDs, and a little bit of, you know, a little bit of engineering, a little bit of work, and you get something that's pretty cool here. And, you know, you get some nice little built-in special features, and we'll show you those in just a second. I wanted to show you the, talk about the painting of this. Now, you can see I've got it matched up pretty darn close here to the box art. And this color is kind of a hard color to find exactly. Whatever I could find in a can or in a bottle or whatever, it either looked a little too yellow, a little too gray, or a little too white. And so I decided to make my own color. And you can see over there I used some craft paint. I used a little bit of black and white to start with, and that gave me like a really light gray. And then I just dropped in a couple of these drops here to get that sort of tannish, you know, slate color to it. And it just was a matter of fine-tuning that. Now, those paints are like $1 a bottle, so, you know, a little bit of playing around and experimenting didn't cost me a whole lot, and eventually came up with a color that was really close. Now, all the markings and everything that they give you for this thing are really nice because they're really accurate. They really did their homework on these. They did a kind of a nice loving tribute to the original show with these things. And they've even got things like the textures of the buttons and everything exactly right. If you look at the TV series and you look at pictures of the props that are out there, just like on the stun gun, there were a few different versions of these, and some of them were kind of almost comical, where you looked close and you could see it was just a block of wood with some stickers on it. The buttons weren't three-dimensional or anything like that. I guess those were for the stunt guys or whatever. But they probably only had a couple hero props for up close. And as I understand it, they actually used the world's first miniature television screen on these things, on the real prop. They had to have a cable coming off it that they would hide in the actor's sleeve or whatever, keep it off camera. But kind of neat history about this thing. And it's kind of the first concept of a cell phone, if you think about it. You know, back in 1974, this was kind of a novel idea and kind of a personal communications device like that, you know, with other features. And so it was really ahead of its time. So let's show you some of the stuff we've got built into this now. I'll take it apart real quick and show you that we've got the battery in here. You can see the 9-volt battery fits in there just perfect. We put that little spacer in there so it won't move around or bang into anything. And then up here at the top, you can see we've got the little jack in there for the soundboard. So later on, if I ever want to change out any of these sounds, I can easily do that by plugging in and reprogramming it. So that worked out really good. Everything else fit in there really nice. We've got our speaker up here in the top. This little thing just slides right back in place here, snaps on, and this little thing kind of fits on like a little pressure fitting. And we've got the holes that we drilled in the bottom of this. As I mentioned, that was a 0.75 millimeter micro drill bit, and it fit perfectly in these little holes right there. The holes are deep enough where the drill bit would like self-center itself, and I just used a pin vise and just took my time and did that. It helps with the sound coming out there a little bit, as well as up here on the top. Now we hit our speaker holes behind the belt clip here, which made a big difference when I was experimenting around with this thing. Having the speaker totally enclosed, you could still hear it, but it sounded kind of muffled. I didn't want this to be too loud, but I wanted to be, you know, loud enough and definitely clear sounding. So facing the speaker that way and having it coming out there, it made a big difference on that. We fixed the little seam around here and got that all cleaned up. We got all of our different markings in place here, like I said. All that's really nice. So some of the features that we have the Commlock screen here. They give you a couple different ones with the kit, and I just kind of picked the one that just kind of looks the best all around. And that's how it looks when it's off. Then we turn our power on here, and you can see it lights up. Now I worked really hard with that diffusion that I talked about, with sliding little pieces of thin sheet white styrene plastic over the LEDs until I got that diffused where you don't see any hot spots. And it also became dim enough where you could see it looking at it with a camera, and it's not all blown out like usually LED lighting is. So I worked really hard on that, and you can definitely tell the difference between, you know, lit and unlit. In person, it looks just right. It's like, you know, you'd expect the lighting to be just about like that on a little screen this size. So that worked out really good. We've got our different sound effects. We've got this little kind of light here at the top too that reacts with all of our sounds. So we'll play the first one for you. That's the classic door opening sound effect. They would always point that at their door before they opened it. That one there is basically any kind of function key on the Commlock when they were going to do something. And this one here is a really cool kind of scanner sound effect. Another kind of a alarm sound. And then finally we've got the classic Space 1999 theme. Then we can stop that anytime. I kind of kept that button in the middle because that one there with just that quick sound can stop everything whenever I want it to. So yeah, this worked out really, really good, guys. And it has, with everything in here, like I talked about on the stun gun, it has a really nice heft to it, and it feels really solid. This thing totally feels real now. And like I said, I'm really, really happy with this, you guys. So had a blast with it. I actually ordered a couple more of these kits because, you know, they may discontinue them at some point, and these are just too cool not to have. And I may go back at some point in the future and revisit and do a little bit more modification if I do decide I want to put a real screen in there or something like that. So, but all around, just a whole lot of fun with these things and a real blast to work on. I highly recommend these. So there's our Commlock and stun gun. Before too long, guys, I wanted to show you really quick. I got another kit in. Actually, two more Space 1999 kits. This one's pretty neat. I'm going to do an out-of-the-box review for you guys just after Christmas on this one, but this is the disposal area diorama set. Oop, I'm a little bit too low there. Let me get you up like that. This is a really cool kit because it actually comes with some LED lights and everything. Now, if you're interested in one of these, I would recommend you go over to HDA ModelWorks because this kit right now, this kit originally retailed for close to $100, and Jerry's got it over there for $50, a little over $50 on clearance. And it's a super cool kit. Comes with a bonus 1/24 scale moon buggy and 2 figures, and the rest of this is all in scale with the 22-inch eagle. So you may see something really cool for me in the future when I get around to building this as far as a neat little display. We're going to be doing another kit too, which isn't here yet, which is the original Moonbase Alpha kit, the re-release version, which I'm going to be modifying and making the moon surface look better, and I'm going to do some lighting on the actual Moonbase Alpha. That's going to be part of my final display base for the 22-inch eagle. The one that you saw on the other day with the moon, that's going to be for the second eagle that I build, which is going to be the rescue eagle. But I had an idea for the first eagle here to display with the moon base, with the Commlock and the stun gun, kind of all in one little thing, to be a kind of all-encapsulating Space 1999 theme display that'll kind of take up a small little footprint. So it should be a pretty neat idea. And Jerry and I are working on that, so you guys will see that coming down the road here. But some really cool stuff. I can't wait for the 1/48 scale Hawk kit to come out. I'll obviously get one of those, maybe a couple of them, because there were different paint variations on those too. So just a kind of a fun Space 1999 kick that I'm on lately. And you know, I always did like the show, but I really especially liked all the hardware from it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. We'll be back again after Christmas with some new builds. Hope you guys get some nice model kits for Christmas. I hope everybody in your family has a good time and everyone's safe and happy, and we'll catch you just after Christmas and get ready to start building in the new year. Until we see you next time, everybody, take care and happy modeling. We'll close with one more Space 1999 theme.